So good morning and welcome to the budget update for 2017-18. It's great to have so many people here this morning, especially those that have travelled some distance to be here, so thank you. Firstly, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Excuse me. I'd like to point out my fellow commissioners that are here. I think firstly Manny Papadoulis, but he's running a little late, I understand, so he'll be here shortly. Also Kevin Brown somewhere, so maybe Kevin, if you can stand up and say hello. Ian Thuberon is here as well, if you could maybe stand up, and Karen Priest. Morning. Thank you. I'd also like to recognise the representatives of key partners of ours, including the regional tourism organisations. You're very welcome to stand up as well, RTOs if you want. Perth Convention Bureau, WATOC, Tourism Council, AHA and Perth Airport. This morning I'll give an overview of the budget and our key priorities, and the CEO, Steve Wood, will then go into more detail and discuss some of the key activities. Then the Executive Director of Brand Strategy and Marketing Services, Louise Scott, who's also acting in the role of Executive Director of Markets and Partnerships, will go into more detail about some of our marketing initiatives. Tourism is the centrepiece of the government's jobs platform, and the government has prioritised tourism like never before. So not only in the state government, in the state budget, but also by elevating the importance of tourism within government through Tourism WA's inclusion in the new Department of Tourism Jobs, Science and Innovation portfolio. And despite tough economic times and record state debt, Tourism WA's overall budget for this financial year has increased by $7.5 million, bringing the total to $99.8 million. This breaks down to $45 million for destination marketing, $40 million for events, and about $14 million for destination development. In the past, it has been difficult for Tourism WA to forward plan over the longer term, given state budget commitments were only really known year to year, and much of the funding was tied to specific purposes. This budget, however, has confirmed the government's commitment of $45 million a year for marketing and $40 million a year for events for each of the next 5 years. So that's a total $425 million investment. This provides certainty for Tourism WA so we can more strategically plan future activity, and with the vast majority of the budget now untied, the board has greater flexibility over best use of those funds. Although there have been some misconceptions around that we have an additional $45 million for marketing, or even an extra $425 million, and maybe that's why we have so many people here this morning. But that level of extra funding would certainly be very nice, but the reality is that this year is about 8% more overall than we had last year. So our marketing budget is about the same as previous years, while events is around $5 million more, depending on the year. So how is the industry tracking, and what are our core priorities? WA is currently experiencing some mixed results in the latest visitor data. Internationally, markets are showing very positive growth, with a 14% increase in holiday visitors and a significant increase in market share across most markets. And we're about to reach 1 million international visitors a year. However, not such good news on the domestic front. East Coast visitors were down by 12%, largely driven by about 113,000 less business travellers over the last year. But also the holiday segment was down by about 7% after a small increase in the previous period. This is very disappointing news, and I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that. The only semi-good news really on the East Coast is that the spend held up and grew by a little bit under 1%. And of course the local economic conditions means that people in Perth have been tightening their belts, which has been affecting hospitality and has also softened travel by Western Australians around the state. And of course, at the same time, more hotel rooms have come onto the market. So to address these immediate challenges, our regular marketing activities have an even stronger tactical conversion focus. And in addition, we've reprioritised an extra $2 million to marketing to add to our tactical cooperative campaigns to drive additional visitors over the next 6 months. We're also encouraging tourism operators to engage more with our tactical campaign partners and to join our roadshows so WA can make an even bigger impact in market. The board is also currently working through a strategy process to take into account the new funding certainty and flexibility, along with the current market conditions, to reassess the priority of Tourism WA's medium-term activities. One of the drivers of our strategy is getting the best outcomes from the unique opportunities presented by the remarkable transformation of Perth, so both as a destination and as a gateway through to our regions. So whilst we do have immediate challenges, I have no doubts in the scale of the opportunity for tourism right across the state. Perth continues to evolve with developments such as Scarborough Beach, City Link, Scarborough Beach, City Link, and the massive new museum, all set to make Perth an even more attractive destination. The stadium is expected to drive visitation, especially from the East Coast, both from blockbuster events and also from AFL tourism, which of course is a very good weekend winter business. The tender to appoint a Tourism WA representation company in Sydney is progressing very well, and that will enable us to more closely work the East Coast market. We're also focused on capitalising on WA's international markets with strong growth opportunities, and there is significant potential for WA as Australia's Western aviation hub with non-stop services to Europe. And many economists like Deloitte's presented last week at the tourism conference, believe that the local economy is starting to turn around and are forecasting growth in consumer spending from people in Perth from next year. So that's very welcome news for our intrastate market. But to be successful, we all need to work together. So thank you for working with Tourism WA and our partners to face our challenges and to also seize the opportunity. Finally, whilst we have all known for a long time, it's now broadly recognised that tourism is a key economic driver in WA and can diversify the economy and create sustainable jobs. So I take this opportunity to recognise the role played by industry associations to help achieve this, particularly the Tourism Works initiative. So thank you for your attention. I'd now like to introduce the new CEO of Tourism WA, Steve Wood. We've each been in our respective roles for about 2.5 months now, and Steve, I'm sure you'll agree it feels like significantly longer than that time. Steve is also the Director General of the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation, and it's valuable having someone of Steve's experience and standing pushing tourism opportunities across the senior levels of government. And tourism certainly does have the attention of the Premier, Ministers and other Directors General. So please now welcome the CEO of Tourism WA, Steve Wood.